Oh yeah, so I am now working on 5 episodes simultaneously, which I did swear I would never do again, and yet here we are. But the shoot went really good. Tom's acting was great. Nate's coat he made makes the whole thing look really good. Andy Daprowski came over, lent his camera gear and audio and script reading skills and DIT knowledge. But it's also a good example of taking advantage of basically everything I know about this style of filmmaking. And again, the only challenge will be it's all green screen stuff. There's a lot of shots that are just one-offs where I have to build an entire environment basically just for one shot. And I want to hit that balance of giving each shot enough love, but without letting it, completely derail. If I can still keep up with like a shot a day, I'm going to be doing pretty good. I already let myself go ahead and get started on this shot. I only have one more shot left on the Pete episode. Like, the Pete episode, it's all done except for one shot. And it's a hard shot, but like, I can finish it at any time. And I'm just like, no, I'm gonna jump over into this complete other different episode. But yeah, I started working on this shot yesterday, which was honestly a blast. I'm gonna be doing a video about how to, we're gonna rig this landing gear. We're gonna make it all actually work and unfold and do a bunch of cool stuff. But yeah, this space here where I have everything tracked and I just get to start blocking things in and kind of like playing, like designing the world around the shot. I love that, especially when you only see the location for one shot, so I don't even have to worry about continuity. It's just, what do we see? How do we make it look kind of cool? I don't know how much the idea makes sense from an engineering standpoint, but it's visually interesting, which is the ship lands, on the tarmac, and it's on a platform like on an aircraft carrier, which descends down underneath the tarmac, and then there's like the airport waiting room there, and he looks over there, and then there's an escalator. He gets in the escalator, and he emerges into the waiting room, which he discovers is empty. Kind of a spoiler, this is a sequel to a salad mug.
I'll pick you up at the airport tonight.
Great! And so yes, he gets to the airport. Joe's not at the airport, and so everything here is supposed to feel exciting, things popping out, everything's happening, and then he reaches the waiting room, and suddenly there's nothing, and he's small in this big space. So that's the shot I want to do right now, where he emerges into the waiting room and he discovers it's just big and empty. And so from an architecture standpoint, I think I'm going to go with good old Brutalist, because it's the easiest to do in CG. We've done tutorials about it before. I'm just going to make a big cube. Look at that. We're done. Little brutalism joke. But I mostly want to use it just because of all of the different associations it has. It's one, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was actually kind of seen as vaguely futuristic at one point, and now it's only seen as kind of a product of this older era. I like that. It implies a history. Powerful implies like powerful governments kind of trying to use it to make monolithic type statements. It's dehumanizing. I want him to appear in this kind of like barren, stark, big, bold. It's not a comfortable place, and just because it looks cool and it's easy to light and texture, but mostly because it's just really easy to model. The other thing about airports that's nice is it's just the same few bits over and over. If you have like a window, it's going to be the same window. If you have a floor, that's the floor, a ceiling, and some seats. And maybe if you have a support, you're just going to have that support repeated over and over in like a trash can. And that's all you need to make an entire airport. So I'm hoping we can kind of do that really quick. First, let's look at some brutalism pictures. Oh, that's brutal. Yeah, and just looking at these, you see a lot of I love this one a lot. These vertical beams like this, I'm gonna use that as an element somewhere. And this is what I'm talking about. You've got this beam over and over, you've got these radial bits, you've got these posts over and over in this railing. So much of this is just one element repeated a couple dozen times. We could recreate the bones of this really quickly. And the goal isn't actually to recreate it, it's to see something and then ideally, at minimum, see something else and be like, oh, what if we kind of combine them into our own thing? We're not just gonna borrow I think this is some Paris pickup or drop-off zone, I'm not sure. But it's looking at stuff and kind of making observations and creating a little bit of a visual library. I love the verticality of this. I love these drop lights right here. I love the way the texture, this is just a big flat square, but the texture keeps it so rich. And all of these inset ceiling things, which are really common, but only some of them have lights in there. That's cool. The way there's like a main space, and then look at this. It just goes into this dark beyond. More of the same here. I love all of this. The same ceiling. All of these dots here are a byproduct of actually like pouring the concrete. That's from the forms that are holding the whole thing together, I think. And yeah, here, look at this. We have a ceiling, we'll give it like a cement material here. We'll subdivide it a few times. We will double tap I to inset, extrude, individual origins, scale it again, inset, E to extrude, maybe do one more layer here. Yeah, and then create a new material, new, assign everything to it. It's gonna be emissive, make it 5, and if we hit render, wow, that's so brutal. And if we wanna make it feel even more organic, we can select everything and hit Control B and just give it a little bit of a bevel to round everything out. And now it's got even more realism at only 5 times the poly count. So here we go! F3, images as planes, I already pre-keyed it earlier. Here we go, top of escalator, animate image sequence, let's make it emit. I think this is all good. And let's scale it so it's the right size here. We want to work at scale, and each Blender unit is about 1 meter tall. A person is about 175 centimeters tall on average. So let's scale up Tom here until he's about that size. Okay, and wait, how do I turn off that annotation? I always do this. View annotations, there's probably a better way. And here, he doesn't actually walk around much, so I'm going to use Control R, add some edge loops here. And does he go into that area at all? No, so I'm gonna delete those. And let's set up a camera too. Dun dun dun. And I stood on a chair when I filmed this, so I kind of want to match the angle I was filming from, a little bit high. And that feels pretty natural, yeah. You can see right here, there's some wacky kind of like just doubling, kind of a ghost that stays behind him, and that we can turn off when Eevee mode. Just uncheck viewport denoising. The whole thing is going to get a lot crisper. We've got some weird shadows and stuff under there I probably could have cleaned up, but I'm going to see if they can actually work in our favor. And one thing I really like is once you have it set up like this, you can zoom in or go as wide as you want. And so we're just going to see what we end up going with. But yeah, my plan is basically to have you know, the floor. And I want to have like a sliding door, but I want to give it some curvature, kind of like this. A little spoiler, but I really thought I was onto something with that whole, you know, sliding glass door, but it's curved thing. But it's the most generic, just sci-fi door you've ever seen in your life. So stay tuned for that. I want to have some supports that kind of go up, but then also kind of curve out into the ceiling like this. And here's the ceiling. Maybe we have one of those recessed areas here. And inside, I'm going to put a bunch of different just lights. Kind of those circular classic lights. The window could be like this, kind of rounded corners with cement. I think that'll be interesting. I want this bit in the center to go up nice and tall. And then I want to have, you know, maybe the gate number or something like this. And it'll just be the exact same thing on the other side. And yeah, some chairs. So that's the plan. Let's see if we can model that real quick. Now, before we get too far, let's look at the lighting on him real quick, because you can see he's kind of lit from the back. He leans forward into a shadow, which means I don't want the lights on the ceiling in front of him. I might actually make, you know, the intersection between the wall and the ceiling have some recessed lighting, so that's what's mostly hitting him. Which is just an idea I got from looking at this image. And again, nobody would ever be able to say like, oh, you ripped off this idea from this thing. It's just you create that little library and then you can kind of draw from it a little bit. You get it. Okay, stop stalling. Let's actually make a floor here. E to extrude it up into a wall, and let's see, E to extrude it out into a little ceiling here. Let's create that groove right off the bat. Yeah, there we go. Control R, select this, E to extrude it straight up. Control R to add another edge loop. Let's make the space for the rotating or the sliding door. In fact, we'll just extrude out a little space for that right now, and I might delete that. And I want to give us a bit more room, so I'm going to select this and select this, scale it out a little bit, use Control R to subdivide this. Let's create our windows right now. So I'm going to double tap I, so we're insetting on each individual face here. This is actually looking pretty good. I might raise them up slightly. E to extrude out. And one thing is, normally I only model to the camera angle. Like, I'm not going to model the back of everything. But in this case, we are going to see this room from the outside when he's looking towards the waiting room. And so I might actually try to model, we'll see. You're going to go into edge select mode. And if I think it's Control Alt click. Yes, we select all of the different corner pieces here. We select all of the edges along this loop. And if we hold down Shift, we can select multiple of these. So I'm just gonna go all the way around right here, and then Control B to bevel that. Scroll it up a little bit. We have our windows. This is looking pretty good. Let's pull all of these windows out a little bit more. I want this to be a nice thick pane of glass. And Control R, turn up. Control R, scroll up. If I'd modeled this in mirror, like if I used a mirror modifier, so it's just whatever I do here is going over, that probably would have saved me some time. But for whatever reason, I don't use mirror modifiers much. I just don't particularly think that way, although I should probably try to learn at some point. But yeah, let's see if we can model kind of a little window frame here. Alt-E, extrude faces along normals. Inset, let's add another little piece here. Cool, I'm gonna select all of the window pieces, hit P, separate by selection. I'm gonna pull them forward so they kind of fit more into this window area here. Tab and edit mode, select everything, extrude it back so it actually has a little bit of depth. We'll clean that up later. And we might wanna, let's bevel these window frames just slightly. Just to give them a little bit of softness. Control B, let's just add a little more geometry there. And I think I actually want the doorway to be a little wider, although we'll probably tweak that more later. But I'm gonna grab these, hit Control X, -1, yeah, and Control X, 1. And let's see what it looks like in cycles mode here. Yeah, that's about what we should expect. I'm gonna give this whole thing a starting material. This will just be cement, because that'll be what it'll all be in the end. And let's make this recessed bit emissive. And if you're using emissive geometry and you're trying to really make it a major light source, it helps a lot to make it bigger, because the path tracer isn't as optimized for emissive geometry as it would be if we actually put like an area light up there, which we probably should do, but we're just gonna do this instead right now. Ian from the future again. Yes, this actually caused me some problems later on when I was trying to render it, and it was taking forever, and that's because you shouldn't try to light a room with an emissive material unless if that geometry is very large, which this wasn't. And as soon as I put in an actual area light, all the problems went away. I made a video a while back about optimizing your cycles renders and things you can accidentally do that'll inadvertently give you really long render times and how to avoid them and fix that. And so I'll link to that below if you haven't seen that before. So I'm gonna grab all of these. Create a new material. We're doing what we did with that other roof bit. This will be recessed lights. Make it emissive here. Let's make it like 20, whoa, 256, 25. Assign that, and now how are we looking? Wow, that's nice and bright. That's brighter than I meant actually. And right now it all looks a little bit rounded. Here, let's go into the data settings, normals, and turn down the auto smooth threshold until it kind of crisps up a little bit. And I'm gonna select the camera and just widen it up a little bit. We can move wherever we want to, which is one of the things I love about actually putting this in the scene. In fact, if we made a really like reflective floor, we'd see his reflection in there. If we have him passing through, you know, the glass doors as they open, you'd see him refracted behind it. It's really cool having him actually there in the path traced scene. And this is still too bright. I'm gonna make it like, yeah, 3, there we go. Because what I'm trying to get is, see, he kind of looks like he's walking through a bit of light and then he leans forward into darkness. I'm trying to sell that with this recessed lighting here, as if there's kind of this area of light that he's walking out of. And that's mostly just a byproduct of the way the lights were set up on the green screen. Like if I have him standing back on the green screen, he's better lit, but he's also standing in the same flat lighting I'm using to light the rest of the green screen. So a lot of times I'll kind of push him forward a little bit so he's in the dark while the green screen's still getting the light. And even if it doesn't make all that much sense, I would rather have weird kind of nonsensical lighting to justify in the scene than like flat, boring lighting that just means I have to like set up the scene in a boring way. I don't know. Anyways, back in solid mode, I'm gonna grab the ceiling here and extrude it up. And I just want there to be this big area here. And here, let's put in a window. I'm gonna subdivide it. I'm just gonna try to make it a little bit interesting. We're gonna take all of these, inset them, extrude them out, do that thing that we did before where I select all of these, bevel them a little bit, and we're gonna make all of these that same glass object as the other windows. P, separate by selection, and just select this one and hit Control J, and let's see, we gotta extrude all of these a little bit too. Okay, let's create kind of a support thing. I'm gonna create a cube here, extrude it, all the way up, maybe flatten it out just a little bit, and yeah, we'll go all the way to the top here. Then I'm gonna grab this, extrude it out, and kind of go up to the ceiling, maybe bring this down slightly. Control B, scroll up a little bit. Here I'm gonna add some beveling to these corner edges too. And yeah, that looks good. I think maybe these guys are sticking out more than they need to. I'm gonna select all of them and pull them back just a tad. But you can see here kind of the importance of designing maybe that was too much. Designing the lighting along with the rest of the scene, like it should all work. So much of architecture is the way the light interacts with everything, and like making sure that the live action, the CG all match. And so doing everything in parallel, I think, really does help, especially when working with materials, making sure that they work really good in the specific setup of your environment. Here, let's try to add those recessed window pieces. Insetting each individual face again, extruding up, and right now we're matching the curvature of this, but if I go to individual origins and I hit SZ, so we're scaling on the Z-axis to 0, we're flattening each of those, and that's kind of interesting. I don't know if it makes things better, but sometimes just having something is better than nothing. So I'm gonna go around here, grab all of these. And let's try to make a floor. I want to see if I can kind of capture that, do linoleum. So I'm going to select the floor. Let's just make it its own object, make our life a little bit easier here. So got the floor, delete all of these. We're going to make a new one. This will just be called linoleum, of course. Slide open our good friend, the shader editor. And just to start with, let's try creating a brick texture here. Here, I'm going to solo this, go into material preview. Drag the color over into the base color, and can we just make this be a bunch of squares? And it's fun to play around with some of these settings. Like, what is squash? Ooh, that's actually pretty cool. Okay, I was gonna do just like a square linoleum thing, which honestly would be probably more practical for the average person. But let's play around with the mortar. Ooh, no, that's interesting. Here, let's see if we can turn this down like really small. Even smaller. And one of my favorite things about the brick texture is it gives us a random value for each square here. I'm going to, I don't know, maybe make them a little bit closer here. I want them to have a little bit of variety, but not too much. And let's create a noise texture here. Oh, here, let me turn on the light so you can see there we go. Noise texture. And maybe 2 of these, because I want to use one mix RGB to just kind of add some more kind of like a cloudy, you know, like the noise texture does. And right here you can see the noise texture is actually stretched out to match like the aspect ratio of the object, which isn't really what we want. It's doing the same thing for the brick texture here, but it's working okay for me in that case. But I'm gonna hit Control-T and just drag object into the vector. And so now it actually matches the aspect ratio of the object. That's just kind of an interesting thing. I don't think I want it to be this rainbow color here, so I'm gonna drag factor down into there instead. And just turn this way down, and maybe the scale, make it only like 2. There we go. Now we have some random cloudiness, but it isn't too distracting. I'm going to turn this scale way up and mix it into. Let's drag the factor down into. Well, yeah, we'll drag this into the factor. We use the object coordinates on this one too. And yeah, what I want to do is I want to get just those tiny little speckles you sometimes get in linoleum. So here, let's throw a color ramp on this and see if we can just do a kind of a threshold thing. Drag this down so that we only see those speckles. Yeah, that's working pretty good. It's weird the speckles are on top of the cracks there, but I think that's probably okay. I'm gonna make these maybe ooh, okay, yeah, we'll just make them a blue. And we don't even see it all that well, but I don't know, it just kind of adds a little something. Gonna turn down the roughness. I want to be able to see, yeah, some good reflections there. But I think I want to be able to feel each different square. So I might use the fact that each square has a different brightness already to change the roughness. So I'm gonna drag that color right into the roughness, and we'll see. Ooh, okay, yeah, that's feeling pretty good. If we wanted, we could dial that in later. But for now, I think it's okay. Although right now you can see the black areas in between are the glossiest, and I might try inverting that just because I don't want the black areas to be okay, let's dial it in with a color ramp here. If I bring up the black levels, the black is where it's really shiny. If I bring that up a little bit, yeah, that's feeling interesting. And let's do one last thing here. I'm gonna use a Musgrave texture, drag that into the normal map through a bump, and that's gonna give us just kind of a nice undulation across the entire surface. Here, I'm gonna drag this into the height. And right now it kind of looks like the ocean, which is weird. Here, I'm going to give it that same object coordinate so it's not stretched across the whole floor. Into the vector. There we go. Right now it's very big, but I'm going to scale it down to maybe 3 and turn the distance down to like 0.05, maybe 0.01, and even then I'll probably turn the strength down a little bit. But how does that look? It's kind of hard to tell with the roughness, but if I get rid of that and make it 0 roughness, you can see it's actually doing quite a bit there. And it's probably about time for us to put some glass in these windows, so I'm going to get rid of these materials, create a new one. It'll just be glass. We'll probably dial this in a bit more later. But for now, I'm just going to make it glass, turn down the roughness, and there we go. And just to match that brutalist kind of aesthetic, I want to see if I can make it feel a little bit cozier with some of that dark wood paneling. So here, I'm going to select these ridges here. I'm going to inset and extrude just a little bit, and we've already got our one cement material, but I'm going to add a new one, and this will be called dark paneling. And we'll assign that. We're going to make the base color an image texture, load in wood paneling. Let's see, if I just type in wood here, yeah, oh, we've got some good stuff. I'm gonna use this one. Yeah, it's kind of stretched, so I'm going to zoom out, hit U, unwrap, and let's go into the UV editor over here and see if we can see what it's doing a little bit more. Okay, that is absolute nonsense. For some reason, in later versions of Blender, unwrap is never doing what I expect, and it could just be there's something new I have to learn. It could be a bug, it could be it never worked the way that I hoped it would work, but I'm going to use our friend project from view, and that one always works, so we'll use that. We'll scale it up. And we'll go through and we'll tweak this material a little bit more later. But first, I want to apply it to some other places too, like all of these interior areas. Give it that same dark paneling, assign, and can I add some trim kind of down here at the base? Here, I'm just going to grab one of these random edges, duplicate it, extrude it up, grab the end of it, pull it all the way out to the end, extrude the whole thing out just to give some floor trim. Assign it to the wood paneling, duplicate over here. You project from view. Got it. How's that feeling? And it's feeling too sci-fi because I made a mistake. I gave it this nice curve here, and what I should have done is just gone like this and just had it, had it be a sharp angle. And so I'm just gonna fix that real quick, but without narrating. But yeah, I'm hoping this makes it all feel a little bit more brutalist and less like spaceship, spaceport, Star Trek feeling. We're still kind of shooting ourselves in the foot just with all of these curved shapes. Like those are hard to manufacture, and so if you put too many of those into a shot, it kind of feels more as if it could be sci-fi. But I still think we can bring this back to brutalist. And let's put some little lights up here. So I'm going to just create a new light cylinder. How many vertices we have here? Let's just make it like 22. I'm gonna pull this down, inset, delete that, and let's create some sort of like copper thing. So I'm gonna turn up the metallic, darken this just a tad, and inside of here I'm going to create an icosphere. Bring it down. This will be the light bulb. So here we've got our copper. And now we've got our new assign emission. Maybe make it slightly warmer. This will be a light bulb. We want it to feel like it's nice and incandescent. And this will be 5. And I like this here. I'm actually going to bring all of these recessed areas up even a little bit more. And let's just arrange these kind of in a nice way. Oh, I should probably be measuring what I'm actually doing, but that's okay. Here, I'm going to join all of them back into the same object here so we can do global tweaks if we need to. All of them are feeling, this is all feeling a little bit too large. Here, I'm going to scale everything down just a tad. And we will put this in every recessed area. And that works okay. I do want to be able to actually see the lights a little bit though. So let's tab into edit mode, select all of these, scale all of them down on their individual origins, bring them down lower, and all of the light sources are now, all the bulbs are popping out of their socket. So I'm going to select all of that, bring it back up just a tad. Yeah, that feels good in here. I'm going to select all of the dark paneling here. Although it looks like the texture on the dark paneling here isn't really unwrapped. So I'm going to select all of that. And if I just, here, let's deselect this. If I say cylinder projection, what's that? Whoa, okay, that's doing some crazy stuff, but if I scale it out, yeah, how's that? And ooh, just scrubbing through this works so good for him just walking into the space and being like, oh, there's nobody here. Okay, what's What's next? Let's add some floor. I want there to be some like big teal floor. He's so yellow, and everything else is gonna be so kind of monochrome that I think having a weird splash of like bold blue could be kind of cool. Make it just kind of, I don't know. We'll figure out the color. This is what I was thinking, and we'll turn down the specular. Again, that's feeling more Star Trek than I ever really meant. I was really picturing this as like this very intense kind of brutalist feeling. Maybe it's because everything's so white. Let's actually make the cement a texture now. Let's change it from white to image texture. Load in some good cement or concrete. And this is the stuff I have downloaded. I kind of want that stuff with the holes in it just to match the aesthetic of that one picture. But let's just try something random in there first. And I'm going to select everything and hit U. Or no, I'm going to select just the cement and hit U, cube projection. And the same for this one. Select the cement, U, cube projection. And I'm going to scale it way up so it's not stretching the texture as much. And that's... Okay, well that's not really it. We got to get a better cement. Concrete. Here, let's try this one here. And that's interesting. Here, let's move this up and see if we can get like a row of holes going across the top there. Yeah, there we go. That's the aesthetic. I do want some more light coming from above here too. So let's we're never going to see this in the shot, I don't think, but let's grab this face or maybe just a couple of these faces and inset and apply recessed lighting, and let's see how that looks. Ooh, okay. And here, I might actually make this just a little wider, use up all the space that we're actually modeling here. This texture here is looking a little bit stretched, so I'm gonna scale all of that up, and yeah, there we go. Now we get some of that nice cement texture we got from the other piece. I'm gonna grab all this stuff up here and try to dial it in a little bit specifically too. Just scale it up. I really wanna see that repeating cement. And maybe we can try to line up the seams a little bit. Nah, that's okay. I'm gonna grab one of these lights, duplicate it, P, separate by selection, right click, set origin to geometry, rotate it 180 degrees, maybe make it a little bit taller, and stick it over by the door. Yeah, there we go. I told you there was gonna be a trash can. Here, I'm gonna turn down the roughness a little bit. There we go. The fact we can see the big panel light up here because of the reflection is a little bit annoying, so let's actually do it right. Here, I'm gonna make this all cement again. Just divide this a little bit more, bring these over, and we'll just do the thing we've already done. Inset, extrude, inset, and assign recessed lighting. And now hopefully in the reflections it'll feel a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. And I never saved, so... And this is feeling good, but it's maybe a little bit too dim. What if we make this more like 5 or something? Yeah, that feels good, and it doesn't change the vibe too much. Yeah, I guess now... So what we should do is actually start... we can go straight into detailing, or it's always good when you're working on a scene to figure out what's off to the sides of it and how that would be affecting stuff. And in this case, it does kind of feel like we're floating in a void. I'm actually going to be creating an environment that'll be going outside the windows later, but we should at least be seeing some sort of like reflection of the back wall behind us in these windows here. So let's see. I'm going to just grab a random face here, or no, I'm just going to create a cube, scale it up, flatten it, put it here. Let's see. Let's assign cement, and if we hit U, cube projection, scale these up quite a bit, and let's actually add some of this recessed lighting here too. I'm going to grab this face, bring it down a little bit, and let's see. Let's assign that recessed lighting. And bring it over here. Also, can we see that in the reflections now? No, we can't. My guess is that has something to do with the fact that, like, the here, I'm gonna change it from glass just to glossy, and we'll darken it. And later I'll actually figure out some proper glass. Here, widen that up just a little bit. And because I'm a sucker, look at how straight all of these lines are. But if we go to panoramic and make it kind of like an equivalent lens distance, everything is suddenly curved. Like, too much. This is just kind of a distracting fisheye, but I still do like it. And we could go into, let's see, the fisheye lens polynomial, which actually lets us set up all of these different distortions specifically, but in general, I never have any idea what anything's doing. Let's see, this is the orb slider. That's good to know. This one is orb slider number 2. Let's see, if I pull this back, but then bring up one of the, oh, nope, still orb. I'll tweak it later, but it's fun for now. I'm gonna try changing this rug color. What if we do that nasty? Or ooh, that's pretty good. Okay. Let's see. Here, let's play with that just a little bit. I'm going to, oh, my mouse battery's dying a little bit. Here, I'm gonna scroll up, add some edge loops here, select all these faces. We're gonna inset each one individually, and then inset again, and let's see, Control Plus to expand the selection and deselect all these middle ones. And we'll create another rug material that's just like a darker version. Yeah, we'll turn down the specular, and let's grab this color here, and yeah, just darken it. Assign it, and how does that look? Here, let's tweak the cement material a little bit too. I'm gonna get some of these cool specular highlights going here. From looking at reference, it doesn't actually look like the cement is all that specular, but I think it'll help us in this case. First, let's drag it down into the normal. We're gonna turn it into a little bit of a bump map. So, bump, drag that into the height, turn the distance down to like 0.1, and this way down too. And you can see it looks maybe a little bit too low res, so I'm going to duplicate this. It won't match the color, but it will still probably feel about the same. I'm going to scale this down to like 3. Is that going to be much? Drag that into the height, and we have a much higher res texture, but that also means we want to turn the strength way down too. We'll probably want to dial that in, but here, I'm going to drag this over into the roughness map also. Turn up the specular, and does that give us anything interesting? It's kind of interesting. The bump map is still a little bit much. Ooh, there we go. Here, I'm going to throw a color ramp in here and increase the contrast just a bit. If I darken this up, I think that'll be, yeah, we'll have some places that aren't. Yeah, there we go. Okay, how does that look? And now let's imagine I'm a madman who doesn't know how to exist without my volumetric haze, and stick some of that in here. Create a new material. It's going to be haze. Somebody recommended that I should put this into my asset browser, and that is a very good idea. Your volume scatter, so I can just drag it straight into the scene without having to rebuild this all the time. Density doesn't appear until we change the values, and that doesn't really do all that much, does it? But that's okay. I'm still going to keep it. Softens everything just a tad. And you know what? I was stalling, but let's see if we can make some chairs. Here, I'm going to create a plane here. Go into local view. We're going to make it a nice chair shape. Maybe this won't be as hard as I think. Yeah, the first thing we're going to do here, I'm going to select all of this, Alt-E, extrude faces along normal, is we're going to look at reference because we're smart, said the smart Ian, who isn't here right now because, no, we're not going to look at reference. We're just going to do this with our straight memory of what chairs are like. We've sat in chairs, right? We know. We don't need reference. Oh, these are famous last words. Whoa, okay. You know what? That turned out better than I expected, especially when we smooth it out. And then we can duplicate this into a short row of seats. We'll do 5, and let's create create supports here. My brain is fading a little bit. Honestly, my brain was never particularly on, which you could probably tell. But I really wanted to make this video. I keep having ideas for videos, but I also keep wanting to just do the thing that the video's about without making I just wanted to make this airport, and so I decided to just make the video because. Extrude these down. And this bit was 2.5 minutes of me extruding and doing a bevel. Yes. Here we'll put some of these facing each window. Right up there, right. And then let's duplicate this, scale it on the Y-axis, and here I'm gonna select one of these, Shift-L, select linked by object data. And now if we go to individual origins, we can scale all these down just because they feel a little bit too big compared to him. Well, now they feel too small. Yeah, now they feel too small. And actually, this whole panoramic thing is becoming a little bit much. I've been enjoying using the panoramic because, I don't know, it was just, I haven't seen a lot of people doing it, and I really do like it. But whenever there's just a checkbox and you can check it and you like it, like chromatic aberration or haze or fisheye or anything, I always go into it knowing that at any point a lot of other people could start doing it, or maybe they already are and I'm not aware of it. I just watched the new Sandman show. They have so much fisheye on all of their full all digital environments that now I'm kind of going, okay, I think I should get off of this train before it starts to just look like an overused thing. And also, just the perspective feels nice. I like this actually quite a bit. So I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out how to split the difference. And this is, I think this is going to be a good stopping point. So I like breaking things up into kind of mini bite-sized projects, and this seems like a pretty good one. Ones we could do next, like this floor is fine. If we had this floor in there, probably people wouldn't notice that it wasn't great, but like imagine if we added scuff marks, or if you could actually see the roughness from people walking here, or additional mats on the ground, or you know, we could duplicate these guys, and let's see what that does. I don't know, that's fine. We want to add a lot of airport-specific signage. We get to make up which gate he's at. We could have maybe a little screen showing, you know, when the next flight is arriving or where it's arriving from. I want to photo scan a friend that can be sleeping here. Just anything to make, because you don't have to rig too much. I might just make them breathing a little bit as they're sleeping on the bench. That's an easy person to add. Maybe a little robot carrying luggage through here, kind of an automated thing. I do want to add a little bit more shininess here. I'm going to grab all of these loops here. Shift-E, duplicate, E, extrude them all up, Alt-E, Alt-E, extrude faces along normals, just a little bit here. Grab our, where is it, copper, and let's see how that looks. Ooh, is that too swanky? That's almost like a nightclub kind of thing. No, I love it. I love it. I might have to add more of that copper trim around. And this is what it looks like after, I don't know, 5 or 6 more hours of work. I always think the diminishing returns is interesting, where in the first, what was it, like an hour, we can have something that looks basically like this, and then I can spend 6 times that long just adding all of these tiny details. And honestly, I still feel like there's different scale of detail. There's, you know, the big structural stuff, there's the medium details, like all of these little signs, and then there's like the little micro details and just like the human interaction type stuff, the evidences that people have actually lived there, smudges on the windows or stickers, or, you know, maybe bits of garbage left under the chairs, or lots of little pieces of signage, like little warning labels and stuff. It's just that tiny little stuff, and if it's not there, you can feel the lack of it really quick. Like if I had a couple little electrical plates, like there was maybe an inset electrical outlet in the floor, but it's covered by like a little cover and it's screwed in right now, little things like that would add so much right now. It's that thing they say where you might not be able to specifically notice that something's gone, but you do notice that like it's not there, which is okay, because I'm stepping away from this shot. I'm trying to do the whole sequence kind of at the same time, because these windows see the outside where the ship lands, and where the ship lands, he can look back in and see the other space, and in between the two, he's riding on an escalator, which is both looking into one of the spaces and visible from, you know, from the other shot. And so I'm kind of trying to do them all at the same time. And the point dynamically is the ship is going to have all this crazy unfolding landing gear. He gets out, everything's moving. He's riding up the escalator. There's going to be all of these different signs and things scanning him, and kind of just sits like dun 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 dun, and it's like just silence, and you go, oh, this was anticlimactic. So I think that dynamic works pretty well. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep plowing ahead on this scene. Actually, I'm going to jump over, finish that one shot for the Pete episode. I've got meetings coming up tomorrow regarding the big boat shoot, which will be exciting. One last thing I noticed as I was editing the video, though, is I stopped liking the composition, the feel of the scene, at about the time I added these lights up here. And so I just want to quickly try, just like compositionally, it's where's the focus? It should be here. And we did a good job, you know, everything points at him. He's in the hole in the middle of the thing. Even once I add the escalator in the background, that's going to be more kind of stuff all kind of like orbiting around him. In the first few milliseconds after the cut to this shot, your brain is wasting time like scanning this area. So I want to try just completely pulling in that, and maybe even grabbing all of these panel lights up here too, kind of the mesh objects. Here, I'm going to turn this into its own thing too, so we can turn this way down. I might even not even have it on at all, but and okay, adding a little spotlight or something here that kind of like brings attention to this could add some nice texture maybe, but right now it just kind of doesn't. I want to bring a little bit of that punch back, so I'm gonna grab this light here and just double, maybe even triple it, maybe even just, let's make it crazy bright. How does that feel? I don't know, I'm a little bit tired. Maybe I'll regret this in the morning and change it back, but I kind of dig that, at least right now. I do want to get a little bit of that contrast back behind him, so just as a placeholder, I'm going to stick this wall back here with a little light on it, just so we really see his silhouette. And yeah, okay, at least in this moment, I think I prefer this. The composition is just focusing right here, which is just showing us Jackie here alone in all of the empty seats, which is all the shot's trying to say. Anyways, yeah, thanks for listening to me babble for this long. I hope there was something useful in here for somebody. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Have a good one. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Oh, though now when I see it when it looked like this, I really like this. Just, okay, no, going to bed. But I didn't go to bed, and I kept working on it, and now it looks like this, and I'll keep working on it, and anyways, this is the end of the video.